The Waitress and the Soldier's Son. Maggie Rayner was 29 years old, a waitress at Nellie's Cafe, a humble diner nestled between a hardware store and a laundromat in the heart of rural Kansas. Her days followed a well-worn rhythm. Rise before sunrise, walk 3 blocks to work, tie her faded denim apron, and serve coffee to the same regulars who called her sweetheart, but never asked how she was really doing. She lived in a modest one-bedroom above the town's only pharmacy, a place that had once smelled like lavender and cough drops, but now mostly like dust and silence. Maggie had no family left. Her father had died in a construction accident when she was 15. Her mother succumbed to cancer 2 years later. Her Aunt June had taken her in, but had since moved to Arizona, citing dry air and aching joints. That left Maggie with a few phone calls on holidays and a box of old photographs tucked in her dresser, edges curling, colors fading. It was on a Tuesday in early October when Maggie noticed the boy for the first time. He couldn't have been older than 10, small for his age, with eyes that scanned the room as if memorizing escape routes. He sat in the farthest booth from the door, a worn backpack slumped beside him and a thick book always cracked open on the Formica table. The first time he came in, he ordered only a glass of water. Maggie brought it over with a smile and a paper straw. He nodded in thanks, so slight it was almost imperceptible. The second day, same booth, same water. The third, the fourth. By the second week, Maggie had mapped his routine. He showed up at precisely 7:15 a.m., 45 minutes before school began at the elementary down the block. He would read silently, eyes occasionally darting toward other customers enjoying pancakes, bacon, and eggs. At 7:55, he would close his book, whisper a thank you, and disappear out the door, having eaten nothing. On the 15th day, Maggie accidentally brought him a plate of pancakes. "Oh, sorry," she said, placing it down with just the right amount of confusion. "Kitchen made an extra. I'll just leave it here instead of tossing it." The boy looked up, wary. Suspicion warred with hunger in his expression. "It's okay," she said gently. "Sometimes the cook messes up. Better to eat it than waste it, right?" She walked away before he could object and watched discreetly from behind the counter. 10 minutes later, the plate was empty and his eyes stayed fixed on the pages before him. But as she cleared the plate, he mumbled a soft, "Thank you." That became their silent ritual. Each morning, Maggie would accidentally bring the wrong order. Pancakes, scrambled eggs, oatmeal. The boy never asked, never initiated conversation. Just a nod, a whisper. A plate cleared with efficiency that told a story of real hunger. One morning, Harold, a retired mailman who held permanent claim over the first stool at the counter, asked, "Who's the kid you keep feeding? Don't think I've seen a parent." "I don't know," Maggie said honestly, "but he's hungry." In the back, Kathy, the diner's seasoned line cook, pulled Maggie aside. "You're feeding a stray," she said, not unkindly. "Handouts don't teach gratitude. He'll vanish one day. They always do." Maggie didn't argue. She just shrugged. "I used to be that hungry too." The boy never offered his name, and Maggie never pressed. The way he positioned himself, always able to see the door and window, told her that questions would only drive him away. So instead, she filled his water glass, made sure his food was warm, and gave him 40 minutes each morning of quiet dignity. As weeks passed, the boy's demeanor shifted in subtle ways. His shoulders, once hunched in constant defense, began to relax. His gaze held hers for a second longer each day. To Maggie, that fraction of a moment, a look that lingered, was everything. By week 6, other customers noticed. Playing charity worker now, a businessman sneered one morning. "Kids expect handouts these days," muttered another. Maggie said nothing. She let their cruelty slide off like rain on a windshield. But her boss, Barry, the diner's portly manager, wasn't so easy to ignore. One morning, he called her into the office behind the kitchen. "I've been watching you with that kid," he said, lips pressed into a thin line. "You can't just give away free meals. Bad for business. Sets a precedent." "I'll pay for them," Maggie replied, twisting her apron nervously. "From your tips? You barely cover rent." "I can manage. 1 meal a day." He studied her, then sighed. "Fine. But if it affects your work or he causes any trouble, it ends." "Got it." She nodded. It was a compromise she could live with. Each morning, she set aside a portion of her tips, money meant for winter boots or overdue dentist bills, and paid for the boy's breakfast. Then one Thursday in November, he didn't show up. She waited, glancing at the door. She made his usual pancakes and left them at his booth. At closing time, the untouched plate sat there like a ghost. The next day, still no boy. By the third day, the ache in her chest felt permanent. Told you, Kathy said. Strays don't stick around. Around day 10, someone took a photo of the untouched booth with a caption, Rosie's Cafe now serving invisible charity cases. The post exploded on Facebook. Comments poured in. It's a stunt. Feeding strays creates dependency. That waitress needs a reality check. The words stung. That night, Maggie opened the old wooden box she kept beneath her bed. Inside was a faded photo of her father in army fatigues, smiling faintly in a war-torn desert. Next to it was his worn leather journal. She flipped to a dog-eared page and read. Shared a half ration with a local kid today. Johnson says I'm crazy, that the boy might alert the enemy. Maybe. But he looked like me when I was hungry and scared. No one grows poor by sharing half a loaf. Those who forget to share remain hungry their whole lives. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't need the boy's name to know his hunger. Whether physical or emotional, it asked for bread, not questions. On the 23rd day of his absence, Maggie no longer expected him to show. Still, she prepared pancakes and placed them at his booth. Then, at 9:17 a.m., everything changed. For black SUVs pulled into the lot. Their doors opened in unison. Men in military dress stepped out, uniformed, composed. Customers fell silent. A man with salt and pepper hair and a chest full of medals stepped through the door. I'm looking for Maggie Rayner, he said. Maggie, holding a coffee pot, froze. That's me. I'm Colonel Henry Dawson, United States Army Special Forces. He handed her an envelope. This is from the commanding general. And a personal message from Sergeant James Thompson, Adam's father. Adam. Maggie echoed, unfamiliar with the name. The boy you've been feeding. She couldn't breathe. Adam's father was deployed on a classified mission. His mother left shortly after. Adam hid it from everyone, too scared to be taken away. He survived on scraps and a dwindling emergency fund. But he wrote to his dad about you. The colonel opened the letter and read. If I don't make it back, find the woman at the diner. Maggie. She never asked questions. Never made my son feel small. She just fed him. Day after day. Tell her she didn't just feed a hungry kid. She preserved the dignity of a soldier's son. Maggie's knees buckled slightly. The colonel continued. You were mentioned at his memorial. Every man in our unit pledged to find you. And thank you. Then he stepped back, raised his hand in salute. One by one, every soldier did the same. The diner, silent moments before, stood and applauded. That week changed everything. The booth was now reserved for veterans, military families, or anyone in need. A small plaque was added, reserved for those who serve and those who wait. Her story spread far and wide. Letters came. Soldiers detoured hours just to visit. They left patches, coins, tokens of appreciation. Maggie pinned them behind the counter. 3 months later, a schoolgirl tugged at her apron. My daddy says you're a hero. Are you? Maggie smiled and knelt. No, sweetheart. I just know what it feels like to be hungry. A week later, she received a letter in a manila envelope. It was from Adam. Dear Miss Maggie, I didn't know your name until the colonel came. But you saw me. Really saw me. Dad said heroes wear uniforms. But I think sometimes they wear aprons too. I miss Dad. And sometimes I miss your pancakes. Thank you for not asking questions when I couldn't answer them. Your friend, Adam. P.S. I finished the book. It had a happy ending. Maggie framed the letter and hung it low, where only the observant would see. No fanfare. No need. A year after Adam's first visit, she found a military challenge coin at her workstation. One side read, Special Forces. The other, Semper Memor, always remembering. She never found out who left it. That evening, Barry changed the window sign. It read, Whatever you can pay, no one leaves hungry. And Maggie, walking home beneath the Kansas twilight, her apron folded in one hand and a coin in her pocket, smiled. Because sometimes feeding a hungry child, without asking why, is enough to change a life. And sometimes, if you're lucky, that kindness comes back, quiet, humble, and wearing dress blues.